Sports betting, with ads practically running on a loop on TV, is now legal in 30 states, and upwards of 90% of it is happening online and on phones with apps from companies like DraftKings.
Imagine being one of the best athletes in the world. You've trained since childhood. Millions of dollars ride on your performance, and fans hang on every play. Then, one bad choice, a few taps on a betting app can wipe it all away. Pete Rose went from a Hall of Fame lock to a baseball exile. Calvin Ridley lost an entire NFL season for a $1,500 parlay, and Shohei Ohtani's interpreter now faces federal charges in a gambling scandal that shook Major League Baseball. When athletes bet, it isn't just breaking team rules. It's a collision with the law, with ethics, and with the very trust that keeps sports alive. Sports betting in America used to live in the shadows. For decades, it was something you did with a bookie in a smoky back room or through offshore websites, operating in legal gray zone. Then, in 2018, the Supreme Court changed everything. In Murphy versus NCAA, the court struck down a federal law that banned states from legalizing sports gambling. Overnight, the door swung open. Now, more than 35 states have legalized sports betting. You can pick up your phone, open an app, and bet on tonight's game in less time than it takes to order a pizza. Sportsbooks like DraftKings and FanDuel are everywhere, on commercials, team jerseys, even official league partnerships. The same leagues that once fought to keep gambling away are now making millions from it, and that's the best part. The NFL signs multi-billion-dollar deals with betting companies. The NBA has official sportsbook partners. Baseball games are now broadcast with live betting odds on the screen. For fans, it's normal. For athletes, though, it's still off limits. This creates a strange double standard. The leagues profit while the players face life-altering punishments for a single slip-up. The rise of legalized sports betting has blurred the lines between entertainment, money, and integrity. And as the floodgates opened for fans and corporations, the pressure only grew on the one group told they can't join in, the athletes themselves. Every major sports league in the United States has its own code of conduct when it comes to gambling. The rules aren't hidden in fine print. They're bold, bright red lines. For athletes, betting isn't just risky, it's career suicide. Take the NFL. The league handbook is blunt. Players cannot bet on NFL games, period. Even if it's not their team, even if it's just a harmless parlay, the punishment is severe. Calvin Ridley learned that in 2022, when he was suspended for an entire season after wagering on games while injured. His bet, just $1,500. His loss, over $11 million in salary. The NBA and MLB operate under similar zero-tolerance rules. An NBA player can gamble on blackjack in Vegas, but if he places even a $20 bet on an NBA game, his career is in jeopardy. In Major League Baseball, the ban is even stricter. Any bet on your own team equals a lifetime ban. That's why Pete Rose, baseball's all-time hits leader, will likely never be enshrined in Cooperstown. College athletes face an even harsher standard. Under NCAA rules, student athletes can't place any sports bets, not just on their own sport, but on any sporting event anywhere. Dozens of college athletes have been suspended in recent years for wagers as small as a few dollars. The reasoning behind these rules is simple but ironclad. Gambling creates the appearance of corruption, even if no games are fixed. If a player bets on his own sport, the integrity of the outcome is immediately questioned. What makes it complicated is the culture around them. Teams now play in stadiums named after sportsbooks. Ads flash across scoreboards urging fans to get in the game with live betting. Leagues cash the checks. Athletes are expected to resist the very temptation that surrounds them every day. Sports betting itself is legal in most states now, but athletes don't live in the same legal universe as the average fan. Federal laws like the Wire Act and the Illegal Gambling Business Act still lurk in the background. These laws were designed to crack down on organized gambling operations, but they've been used in cases involving players, referees, and intermediaries who helped facilitate bets. The real danger comes when gambling edges into game fixing. History is littered with scandals, such as the 1951 CCNY college basketball point shaving scandal, where multiple players were bribed to manipulate scores, or the infamous case of NBA referee Tim Donaghy in 2007, who bet on games he officiated and fed inside information to gamblers. Both cases brought not just league punishment, but criminal charges, prison time, and permanent reputational damage. And then there's fraud and conspiracy. If a player uses someone else to place bets, or if gambling debts get tied to illegal bookmaking operations, prosecutors can get creative with charges. Wire fraud, conspiracy, and even, RICO, the Federal racketeering statute usually reserved for mobsters has been threatened in gambling cases tied to organized crime.
I'm very saddened and shocked that someone who I'm trusted has done this.
Ohtani denied any connection to the money allegedly wired from his account to a bookmaker in Southern California, where sports betting is illegal.
The Shohei Ohtani scandal is a fresh reminder of how quickly betting can spill into federal courtrooms. Ohtani's interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, was accused of stealing millions from the Stars bank account to pay off illegal gambling debts. While Ohtani himself wasn't charged, the case showed how athletes can get dragged into legal battles even when they aren't the ones placing bets. And don't forget state laws. In some jurisdictions, placing a bet through an illegal bookie or across state lines is still a misdemeanor or even a felony. For athletes already under the microscope, one bad judgment call can trigger both league discipline and a criminal record. When the law gets involved, the stakes rise far above suspensions or fines. Careers can be rebuilt after league punishment. Federal indictments and prison time, that's game over. Even when no laws are broken, gambling by athletes raises a fundamental question. Can fans still trust the game? Professional sports run on faith. Every ticket sold, every bet placed, every highlight watched depends on one simple belief, that the outcome isn't rigged. If that belief cracks, the whole system wobbles. That's why leagues treat gambling violations as existential threats, not minor missteps. Think of it like insider trading. On Wall Street, you can't trade stocks using confidential information that the public doesn't have. In sports, athletes hold inside knowledge too. Injuries, play calls, even locker room drama. If they wager using that information, it's not just unfair, it corrodes the very foundation of competition. There's also the problem of temptation meeting vulnerability. Not every athlete is a millionaire. College players, minor leaguers, and even journeymen in the pros often scrape by compared to the stars. Gambling can feel like an easy side hustle, especially with apps blasting risk-free promotions. That's how small bets snowball into big scandals. And then there's addiction. Studies show that athletes may be more prone to gambling problems than the average person, partly because of the competitive mindset and the rush of high-stakes environments. For someone already wired to chase adrenaline, the dopamine hit of a winning bet can be irresistible and destructive. The ethical dimension stretches beyond individual players. When fans see leagues partnering with sportsbooks but punishing athletes for betting, it looks hypocritical. The message is mixed. Gambling is good for business, but poison if athletes touch it. This contradiction fuels debates over whether the rules are fair or simply a tool to protect league profits while scapegoating players. At its core, the issue is integrity. Sports without integrity are just theater. The rules against gambling aren't only about punishing athletes. They're about safeguarding the fragile trust that keeps fans watching, buying tickets, and believing in the magic of the game. When athletes gamble, the damage isn't measured just in dollars or suspensions. It's measured in something harder to repair: public trust. The abstract rules and laws become real when you look at the athletes who've lived through the fallout. Each case shows a different piece of the puzzle. Sometimes a career-ending punishment, sometimes a temporary setback, sometimes a courtroom drama. Start with Pete Rose. Charlie Hustle, the all-time MLB hits leader, was once the face of grit and determination, but in 1989, an investigation revealed Rose had bet on baseball games while managing the Cincinnati Reds. Punishment was swift and unforgiving, a lifetime ban from the sport he defined. Rose admitted later that he even bet on his own team, insisting he never bet against them. But that didn't matter. To Major League Baseball, the mere act of gambling was enough to cast doubt on the integrity of every game he touched. Decades later, Rose remains barred from Cooperstown, a living reminder that some lines once crossed cannot be uncrossed. Fast forward to the NFL. Calvin Ridley, a rising star with the Atlanta Falcons, was sidelined in 2021 with an injury. During his downtime, he placed several bets on NFL games through a legal app. The wagers totaled about $1,500. Not exactly a high-stakes gambling ring, but the NFL suspended him for an entire season. The financial cost was staggering, more than $11 million in lost salary. Ridley eventually returned to the field, but the suspension became a warning shot to every player in the league that no bet is too small to destroy a career. Then there's the Shohei Ohtani scandal, a case that unfolded not with the athlete himself, but with the man closest to him. In 2024, Ohtani's longtime interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, was accused of stealing millions from the superstar's bank account to pay off massive gambling debts. Federal prosecutors brought charges, and while Ohtani was cleared of wrongdoing, the headlines alone were enough to rattle Major League Baseball. The takeaway? Even if athletes don't don't place the bets. The people around them can pull them into a scandal. And let's not forget the NCAA. In 2023, more than a dozen college athletes were suspended for placing bets, many as small as $5 or $10. The athletes weren't rich, they weren't manipulating games, but the rules are absolute. For them, the punishment was the loss of eligibility, scholarships, and in some cases, the chance at a professional career. These stories make one thing clear. Whether it's a legend like Pete Rose, a current pro like Ridley, or an unsuspecting college kid, the cost of crossing the line into gambling is always higher than the payout. The thrill of sports betting is everywhere now. On our phones, on our screens, even on the jerseys our favorite players wear. For fans, it's entertainment. For the leagues, it's a financial windfall. But for athletes, the message is still the same as it was in Pete Rose's day. Betting is forbidden territory. The consequences are not just about money lost or games missed. They're about the credibility of the entire sport. When athletes gamble, even on games they don't play in, the shadow it casts is larger than the bet itself. It tells fans that outcomes might not be real, that integrity might be compromised, that what they're watching might not be competition but manipulation. That's the nightmare leagues are desperate to avoid. Thanks for joining us today at Due Process Daily. Throw us a like and consider subscribing to the channel.